Hey, just a little mention. Mike Marr has been working on the show now for a couple weeks, a couple months. And one of the things that he's doing is he's putting up YouTube videos of the show. And we haven't really promoted it enough.
We should promote it more.
And I think finally I'm in sync with him for the first time that I'll put up the videos on our Twitter and I'll put them up on our Facebook. So follow us on our Facebook, facebook.com/thejunks. So there'll be a link to the YouTube videos he's putting up, and follow the YouTube page and also on Twitter. So you can check those out, facebook.com/thejunks, also at Junks Radio on Twitter.
I do stand by my original observation that he's not nearly as chipper as he once was.
Mike Marr?
Yeah.
He's tired.
Inevitable.
The early hours
It's getting to him.
taking a toll on the most chipper kid I've ever met.
Probably right.
I've never met a guy that walked into work every day the way Mike Marr did and literally fist bump everybody, big giant face. Now he is just.
I'm guessing no fist bump today.
No fist bump.
No.
It's been a while since I've done a
he
fist
just
bump
comes in and says, "How you doing?" He doesn't do the
He's
fist
still
bump.
There's a fist bump. He's not geeked up. He doesn't tell me all about his big plans.
But like Stone Temple Pilots said, he's half the man he used to be.
You're half the man you used to be.
You're half the man you used to be, Mike
No,
Marr.
I'll bring back the energy. I'll bring it back.
No. I actually don't like to be bothered, so I like it low energy. But it's hilarious to me that this job is sucking the life out of you.
It's every day now. So any grind, like think about the famous speeches that coaches give. If they're pumping up a baseball team, they can't do that 162 times. They can't be rah-rah.
Like Al Pacino's speech in Any Given Sunday. Such a great speech.
Yeah, the lack of Z's, I mean, affects everyone. But maybe I got to switch up the playlist walking in here in the morning. Maybe I'm going a little too slow vibes, playing maybe I come back with like some Leonard Skinner or something tomorrow morning.
Oh, you think it's the music that you're playing?
What do you have a playlist to walk into work to?
No, I mean, I just listen to music in the car. I mean, I'm kind of just joking.
Okay,
but maybe do like Get Rich or Die Trying 50 Cent. Come in with some extra juice tomorrow, and then,
it'll pump you up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you're doing a good job with the videos. We'll get them up, promote them as much as possible. People check it out. You can check out the YouTube videos. And what is the exact page where all the YouTube videos? Is that our 106.7 The Fan page?
Yeah, 106.7 The Fan, and then the playlist is the Sports Junkies if you just want to watch Junkies content.
Right. And, I prefer that we get a lot of views on that. You know what I mean?
That's optimal. Right. Yes. That'd be great.
It'd be nice if we got a lot of views on it.
Lots.
I actually make no money from it, but the state
we
it's
certainly
profitable. But just for swagger, I'd like to have a lot of views on it.
Bragging rights.
Yeah.
Kind of like when we used to get the podcast numbers from the whole company.
Mm-hmm.
We
were right up there.
It was nice that we were one of the top. I think were we number one? No, maybe number two.
Maybe
one. I think maybe we were up there.
At one point, might have been number one. Might have been number
and
two.
we were a
Boomer
local
Carton
show compared to like national shows.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. We wanted to kind of get into this audio from Randy Mueller, who used to be a GM, I believe, with the Saints. Interesting take on Drake Maye. Now, a week ago, the conventional wisdom, and so much can change before the draft because we're going to be nitpicking these guys, going to be watching everything they do. They're going to be diving into, all of their tests, like the Wonderlic, the S2 cognition test, which apparently
the S2 has lost a lot of luster after CJ Stroud bombed it, and then he obviously had a great rookie year.
Right, but then the combine, people are going to be pouring over the tape. But kind of a week ago, everybody thought Drake Maye is the second best quarterback. He's going to number two. Now, Mel Kiper came out, and we talked about this yesterday, said Jaden Daniels is the number two quarterback to Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Well, here's what Randy Mueller says about Drake Maye.
For me, Caleb Williams is special. I don't know that I've seen a kid like him come out, and for that reason, in a long time, for that reason, I think the Bears are, once they gather the information and give it all due process, I'm imagining that's who they're going to pick. I am not a Drake Maye guy, so I'm not the right guy to throw bouquets that way. I just haven't seen anything that wows me, and I don't want to beat the kid up. He's been, for whatever reason, some people like him. That's just not my style. But I do like Jaden Daniels. I actually like J.J. McCarthy as well. And I think both of these guys will be in the mix for top 10 type selections when all the dust settles. So I think you could make a case for any of those three being picked in the top 6 or 8 picks, and no doubt The Drake Maye one, maybe at some point I'll come around, but I've seen a lot of film and I'm still waiting to be impressed. I think a lot of times early in that evaluative process, the outsiders, the people not in NFL buildings, build up these players. And they take a liking to them in September, and come hell or high water, they're going to keep selling. They're going to keep pushing. And I'm just not buying that Kool-Aid until I actually get my eyes on them. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. Really, none of the coaches have even been heard yet.
Right.
And I find that history shows me once the coaches get involved as well, they tend to kind of line up with those of us that have done it for a living for a long time. And so I think there'll be a more clear consensus the further we get into this.
Yeah, and I think obviously too, until they have a head coach here, we don't know what style even they're looking for. With May, I'm curious. And what is it that you haven't seen him? Some people compare him to Justin Herbert. Do you even see that at all? I know the size and all that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you just hit on it. The size is what everybody sees. Everybody sees 6'4", 220 pounds. But I don't see elite arm like Herbert. I don't see elite anticipation or processing like Herbert. So there's some things that I don't think that's a good comparison. I see more of a little bigger Mac Jones. That's what I see. Somebody like that. I think his arm strength to me is ordinary for NFL levels. But the bigger thing to me is inconsistent accuracy and inconsistent timing within structure to anticipate throws. I struggle with that. I just haven't seen that.
Wow, I got it.
That's on the John Kime podcast.
If your comp is Mac Jones,
I got to start watching these.
Now again, that's one person's opinion.
It is, but that's a long-time NFL executive.
It's way more important.
But there are other executives that say he's got a great arm.
It's more important.
I know. That's the first I've heard of that, but it's interesting.
That is a terrifying
I will say this
comparison.
I will say this. Now, you guys, you can diminish this guy, but he is a long time, so I think he's got a valid opinion. Maybe wrong, maybe right. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But when I told you I like J.J. McCarthy, you guys all mocked me. I like J.J. McCarthy.
Not at 2.
Yeah, but you don't like him at 2.
Yeah,
maybe not at 2, but I'm just telling you, when I watched him, I liked that looks like a pro quarterback to me.
Yeah, but you can't. That could be the case, but you cannot bypass like Jaden. If you think Jaden Daniels is special, more special than Drake Maye, you can't punt that away and say we're going to pick McCarthy at 15 and trade down.
No.
This is not the time to do that.
You're not trading.
He may be proven right, but I've seen more opinions from people plugged in much more positive on Drake Maye than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Tim
saying.
Hasselbeck.
Tim Hasselbeck
Tim Hasselbeck's one guy on ESPN, but he said in his 15 years or however many years he's been on ESPN as an analyst, he was the best quarterback prospect he's seen.
This is what he says. This is what Hasselbeck says. Drake Maye is to me about as perfect of a prospect that I've seen in 15 years.
I know. It's crazy.
It's a matter of opinion. Eye of the beholder, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're that spread out. But that's what he thinks.
That's crazy.
I've watched just the highlights.
They're going to study
everybody
every
looks good in the
throw.
highlights. And Drake Maye,
that's why you got to
in the
watch every
highlight tape,
throw.
he's rolling to his right, throwing 50 yards downfield, dimes.
You got to pick a game and just do every throw. I might have to bring back the evaluation.
I may have to fire that machine back up.
It's the most important year. Who cares?
It seemed very convincing.
I just know he's a long-time NFL executive.
He's in the XFL now, or I was trying to look at his resume.
You can try to diminish him, but that guy's
I'm not diminishing him. I'm just giving you an update. That
I need to find my FUBAR list because I'm putting Drake Maye on it.
His last jobs.
You were convinced.
Oh, jeez. Now
you were convinced.
One guy.
Where's my marker?
You can't do that.
One guy. You can do that. Just
So easily swayed.
My marker.
We could in 5 minutes to find someone saying the same thing about Caleb Williams.
Then he can. All right. Then
Find
he
an
can add it, Caleb.
Find an NFL
You're going to listen to the guy
that
running the
likes
Seattle
Drake Maye.
Sea Dragons.
I might because he knows more than anybody else in this room. I know
He's been
that.
running the Sea Dragons this year. Before that, the Houston Roughnecks. Before that, the Salt Lake Stallions. But before that, Chargers, Dolphins, Saints, and Seahawks.
Just think about it. Mac Jones is so toxic that if you get mentioned in the same breath as him, you immediately go on Cates' FUBAR list. That's what did it.
Reaction.
The word Mac Jones.
Right. A bigger Mac Jones? I'm sorry.
So you're out.
I have to part ways. Officially out on Drake Maye. Want no part of him?
Did Mac Jones
No,
win the
thank you.
Heisman?
Huh?
Did Mac Jones win the Heisman?
Who cares?
I know. I'm just saying.
That's been
Rookie
the worst
season was
indicator.
really
You know
good.
who else won the Heisman?
No, he didn't win the Heisman.
He didn't.
Not sure.
Didn't Devontae Smith win that year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't Ty Detmer win the Heisman at some point?
I mean,
Yeah,
the
I know there are a
Heisman
lot
has
of
been the
duds.
worst indicator
I understand.
at quarterback.
Heisman.
I'm gonna.
Get that out of here.
I know, but that's kind of Jaden Daniels things.
Okay, I
just won the Heisman.
I care about the Heisman, not one iota. Once you make the transition to the pros, it means less than nothing.
Do you remember off the top of your head what happened in their game?
Yeah, but
against...
you love Caleb Williams.
Yeah, but I don't love him just because he won the Heisman. Like I don't put much stock. Actually, put no stock in that.
Yeah. Cakes isn't saying we got to draft him high because he won the Heisman.
No, I get it.
I mean, I would never say.
I think the guy to watch on who they're going to draft, whether it's Drake Maye, assuming Caleb Williams goes 1, whether it's Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels, is Rick Spielman, who's part of the committee.
Well,
Spielman does a mock draft every week.
He's got a throbber for Caleb Williams.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's not
for Drake Maye.
He's not getting Caleb Williams.
I know, but my point is, what does he say about
Maybe
Drake Maye?
There's no chance Chicago's, if they love Drake or Caleb Williams, he's going to be the future.
What if they're
not going to trade that.
What if they
pick.
don't love Caleb Williams? Maybe they don't.
They might.
That's a possibility.
I'm just guessing if everyone's saying Drake or Caleb is that much better than Drake Maye.
Yeah.
And obviously the Bears are kind of desperate for a quarterback because it doesn't look like they're going to go with Fields. They're not going to trade that pick.
Maybe they have Caleb Williams rated the same as Jaden Daniels, and they can't wait to trade the pick. We'll see. We'll find out over the next few months.
Do you remember?
I would bet against it, but okay.
How did Carolina do against Clemson? Did they get smoked in that game? Do you remember?
Yes, they lost.
Yeah, they lost.
And they also lost to Clemson in the ACC.
I'm watching that game right now.
This past year?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
they lost.
Wasn't it a Saturday night game? Something like that?
Yeah. It looks like an evening game.
Yeah, he wasn't great in that game.
It was at Clemson, too.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just watching it.
Who's at Clemson?
I picked one. I wanted to pick a good opponent. I know Clemson's not what they used to be, but still. He's not fast.
I just Googled.
He didn't play well in that game.
I Googled Spielman and Drake Maye, and this is from way back in October.
All right. I like it.
All right. But, and it's a mock draft that they do every week on CBS Sports. But Spielman said he would have done everything in his power to trade up and draft Drake Maye, knowing the drop-off at quarterback in this draft class, and knowing that Kirk Cousins is set to become a free agent next offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just tell you, so far in the first half, he looks like butt.
Mac Jones
I'm just
vibes
saying,
watching.
I'm watching right now every throw and then every run. That was a good throw. But I've seen some doo-doo, a lot of doo-doo.
Dan Orlovsky says Drake Maye is the best quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft class.
Yeah, it's weird. Dan Orlovsky also ran out of bounds, like a clueless.
It's true, but if he said Sam Howell,
didn't somebody else
did he
do
say
that this
something
year?
good about Sam Howell? I guarantee he would have said,
Of course.
Dan Orlovsky loves him.
Well, that's what people
But
do.
Randy said it in a way that was very
Convincing?
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just watching him right now. I'm trying to see if I
can you get another
anticipation.
NFL exec or Orlovsky or someone that says something good about Drake Maye?
Or how about one?
Tons.
Find one. This is actually might even be more challenging. Find another one that thinks he's butt.
I'm now
Because that is the first guy I've ever seen that says he's straight butt.
I'm fully
sure they're out
convinced
there.
that he is garbage now, Drake Maye. Big, hefty bag.
You're that
Drake
swayed
Maye.
by one guy.
I'm swayed. I'm easily swayed.
Well, I'll say this.
Obviously.
I think Jason, and I've said this to him publicly and a million times, Jason is swayed by height. Jason likes height.
Oh, I
And
like
think-
height too.
I know, but I
I
think
like height and size, yeah.
I know, but I think
And
you
he
sometimes credit guys just because they're height.
He falls into
Well,
my
it's-
sweet spot, which is between 6'3" and
Yeah.
6'5".
It's a harder position to play if you're shorter and
It is
smaller.
harder,
Yes.
but it's just
Just go ask Bryce
It's
Young.
a bonus to me if you're tall. It's not a
I'm
requirement.
not saying you're better just because you're bigger.
No, but it helps.
But I'm saying if you have
it's a plus.
if you kind
It's
of
a
have
plus for
similar
sure.
if you have similar skill sets to a guy who's smaller, I'd
Yeah.
rather have the bigger guy.
Sometimes the smaller guy maybe has a little more wiggle, and also their entire life they've learned how to accommodate that.
I don't know, but still, it's a
That is
difficult position
officially,
to play
though,
when
your
you're
first red flag on Drake Maye.
Looks
And
like he's
Cakes
playing-
has him on the FUBAR list.
Not yet. Tentatively, he will go on as soon as I get a marker.
His comments on Drake Maye, the quarterback from North Carolina, who on many mock drafts lands here in D.C. to play for the Commanders with that number 2 pick. The assumption is Caleb Williams goes number 1, and now there's discussion who goes number 2. If it's a quarterback, is it going to be Jaden Daniels? That was Mel Kiper's mock draft. and maybe that's who it'll be. Or is it Drake Maye? Most of the mock drafts had the Commanders taking Drake Maye. You just heard some negative comments from Mueller. Our pal Grant Paulsen, who we're going to see on 106.7 The Fan versus Team 980 night at the Bethesda Theater next Friday. He's on the line right now and wants to chime in. What's up, GP?
Jeeps.
What's going on, boys? How are you?
By the way, I enjoyed your segment yesterday when you were having callers give you their feelings on the head coaching candidates. What was your overwhelming kind of takeaway from it?
People are out on Dan Quinn.
Oh, jeez.
They don't get steamed up for a retread defensive mind who went to a Super Bowl that one time. I'm
sitting across the table from one, too.
Yeah, yes, you are. Pretty much.
Yeah, but what about the guy that J.P. Finley quoted, the NFL executive that said he's by far the best leader out there? And if that's something that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think that there are certainly arguments to be made that players like playing for him. I think that's the best argument for Raheem Morris. So I think a better, more kind of younger, inspiring version of Dan Quinn. But I just think that you're seeing a trend away from that in the league. It goes without saying. We're going to see a sixth consecutive NFC championship game this weekend where both coaches are offensive-minded. You're talking about 13 of the last 14 coaches to play for an NFC title now to lead their teams in this game this weekend that come from the offensive side of the ball. You know, if you want to say Dan Campbell's more a leader of men, I mean, he was an offensive player and an offensive coach. You know, he'd be the first like that in a long, long time. So you got to go back to Mike Zimmer after the Vikings luck boxed their way with a miracle throw to Diggs into the last coach in the NFC title game that wasn't an offensive play caller type. So you saw it with Vrabel, proven winner in Tennessee. They moved on from him. They went and got Brian Callahan. It's a different league. It's hard to win and sustain that way, I think.
All right, so let's get to Drake Maye, which is why you called. You just heard the Randy Mueller clip with a bunch of red flags on Drake Maye. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was cracking up in my car because Cakesy, it's one guess.
Right.
Hey, I know, but like if you comp somebody to Mac Jones in 2024, I'm borderline going to lose my mind, and I'm going to take that guy off my board.
Hey, and often, I don't know if you read Malcolm Gladwell Blink, oftentimes your snap judgment is the correct judgment.
I see more of a little bigger Mac Jones.
But what if there's 9 guys out of 10 that compare him to Justin Herbert?
Ultimately, it doesn't matter what Randy Mueller thinks.
Yeah.
It matters what Adam Peters thinks. If Adam Peters thinks that Drake Maye is the guy, then I guess begrudgingly I have to trust.
Are you going to take him off your FUBAR list?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Adam Peters knows more about football than Johnny Flakes.
What would be interesting is
he does.
If they do hire Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson's got a Carolina connection. He went to Carolina, so I'm sure he knows Drake Maye and Sam Howell.
Yes.
Probably works
out.
with them in the offseason, I'm sure.
I do not want to besmirch Randy Mueller, longtime guest of the program, good dude. We bumped into each other in XFL circles. Like, I like the guy a lot. Executive of the year, knows more about football and fingernail than I do. The comp to Mac Jones makes no sense. It's one of the worst comps I've ever heard in my life.
Why?
Here's what those guys have in common. They're white and they play quarterback. Drake Maye's athletic. He's mobile.
He can run a little bit, yeah. He's come from an athletic family, for sure.
He was the most successful third-down scrambler in college football last year. Mac Jones has cinder blocks for feet. I don't understand that comparison at all. And
might have been arm strength.
I think he was relating it to arm strength, to be honest.
Drake Maye has plenty of arm.
I think so, too.
I would say he has above average arm. I mean, if you look at some of the metrics that are coming out now, passing grade on first and second read throws since 2022, he's number one in FBS among minimum quarterbacks with a minimum 100 attempts. If you look at passing grade on straight dropbacks, time to throw 2.5 seconds or less. So, these are pre-designed, premeditated things. He's number one. Caleb Williams is number 7. If you look at, not leaving the pocket when it's clean and percentages of guys that do that, scramble rate, non-pressured dropbacks, Jaden Daniels is up near 10%. Justin Fields was 8%. Drake Maye's down closer to upper 6s, low 7s. Like, all of the metrics suggest that this guy's a decent player.
GP's a May guy. You're a Ben Johnson May guy. I've already forgotten, and I was listening yesterday. Who was your no for?
My no as a head coach?
Yes.
It was Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If my no is Eric Bieniemy, I've gone on record.
But Bieniemy's not getting it.
And I know, and I laugh about it. But
I don't even count him as a candidate.
Yeah,
of course you shouldn't. You shouldn't. But they did interview him, and there are still loyals here that think absolutely. I don't care that he deserves an opportunity. That's not for me. Like, I just want the best coach.
And
so
he's not the guy.
I'm sure he deserves it based on the past, but I don't care.
But somewhere
else. He had a 70-game audition here, and it sucked. But
so my dream, going back to the fall, like when I closed my eyes and I put my little head on my pillow and I dreamed about what was possible, was Adam Peters, Ben Johnson, and a QB. At that time, I didn't think they'd be picking second. I was thinking maybe Jaden Daniels, like 7.
Right.
But now the possibility of a Goff-ish type May in this offense, which the comp that you hear way more often than Mac Jones, by the way, is Justin Herbert. But having said that, that triumvirate to me is you salivate over that.
All right, let me ask you, though. I wanted to finish my question, Grant. I'm sorry, it was a long build-up. but here's the point. Like, everyone universally says they love Adam Peters. I like him. Seems great. I don't know. Well, proof will be in the pudding, in 3 years. But he seems great. But if he hired Eric Bieniemy, that would tell me Adam Peters is a buffoon. That he's got everyone's.
He's not
he's literally a moron.
He's not going to do that.
So I know that's not true. So I know it's not going to happen.
Correct.
Who would be that? So for you, if they hire Dan Quinn, are you going to go that hard?
I would be heartbroken and crestfallen.
So, but you trust Peter? Like you're all in on Peters. What if he likes him?
I don't trust him implicitly to say, well, Dan Quinn
Peters
was a great
we
hire.
trust.
Kind of. I mean, I'm still going to be a critical thinker. If he hires Dan Quinn, I'm going to say he got you. He tricked you. He tricked you in that meeting. But my point is, if Adam Peters wants to hurt me so bad, just kick me in the shin. Like, don't hire Dan Quinn. Just hit me when I'm not looking. I mean, just do the right thing. I'm dreaming on Ben Johnson, and then as a D coordinator,
Adam
look
Peters
out for.
he's too smart and put together to hire Dan Quinn.
What if he hired Raheem Morris?
That would be a better version. Like, for me, Johnson's an A+, Slowick and McDonald are A- is B+, Raheem Morris is a C. Because I don't do defensive head coaches generally, but he did coach on the offensive side of the ball, plugged in with the Shanahan-McVay trees, could get a pipeline to coordinators. Players love playing for him.
What about Anthony
so there's
Weaver?
there that I can work with it.
They want like a Ravens model. Anthony Weaver is an assistant head coach.
I just don't think you pay $6 billion for a team to give it to a guy that no one had heard of, outside of the league a month ago. I don't see
The only thing I'm concerned with, and I brought this up earlier, is I hope Ben Johnson. You have Jay on all the time. He tells you guys. I listen to it. Ben Johnson looks great with those weapons. Wait till he comes over here with this trash. Okay.
Well, you don't know.
Trash.
You don't know who's going to be on the roster
okay,
yet.
but it's not going to be a complete overhaul. I mean, it will, but it won't be all great.
But you know what's better with trash, if to use your word, not mine, is smart people, right? So he'll get more out of that, right?
Let's hope.
Yeah, they're going to have to get the quarterback right. They're
Grant, we got to run. You know how it works.
Stay strong, Casey. Stay strong.
I will.
Next Friday is going to be fun.
He's not going to budge now, bro.
We'll see you next Friday at Bethesda Theater. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm excited, boys. See ya.